Hey Scott, this is Michael. How
Hi,
are you?
Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. Seems like Kevin is already here.
Yeah, yep.
He beat me to it.
Okay, Scott, the stream is live. Michael is going to be your TA. I have made him your co-host.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Scott.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. How are you today?
Good, good.
I'm going to take my blood pressure here every day at noon.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
All right, I'm finally, I hope, I, they had a Photoshop Express on sale, and it was such a good price, I bought it, but I don't know how to use it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Here we go, I hope.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Good, good.
Um, are you going to show us a free version, a place where we can get this for free, or is this we have to buy it to use
This
it?
is a subscription. service that you get from Adobe's website. So yeah, this is the paid version.
If I have a student ID, will they, I wonder if is there a student price? I wonder.
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I would not be surprised. Yeah.
Now, are you a volunteer, Scott?
Yes.
Oh, am I a volunteer?
Yes.
No, I am on Get Set Up staff.
Okay.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. I just sort of thought that's a lot of volunteering.
Now, good to see everybody. Hi, Cheryl Ann again. And okay.
Hi.
Rosalind. And Carolyn and Michelle. Okay. I think we've got another person coming in. Okay.
How long has Get Set Up been around?
About a little over a year.
Oh, really? Wow. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I missed you all this time. I don't know how. I think I found it through PSS University.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't know about it a year ago. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm glad you're still here, and I hope you keep going, even if they have on-site things. Some of us have trouble traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to stick with the remote.
Good.
So
So welcome, Kathleen, and we're glad you found us. Although I'm just a participant, but it's wonderful. And make sure you tell your friends.
Oh, I have been passing it along.
Good.
yeah.
And Scott is wonderful. He's funny.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I try to inject a little humor in these.
He's
Yeah.
also a professional photographer, so he knows his stuff. It's not just he's not just leading us astray, so to speak. He's got it.
It's good to know. It's difficult. I tried photography back in the days of single lens reflex, which is a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I discovered how difficult it was. I had this vision in my head of what I was taking, and the photo did not turn out that way. Some people just have an eye for this and know what they're doing. And I decided mediocre.
Yeah. Well, it takes a little practice, but yeah.
I think it's more than practice. You have to have an eye for this, because I have a friend who didn't practice, and she always did these wonderful photographs. And I was secretly jealous, because why could she do it and I was not able to?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that doesn't end even when you start doing a lot of photography. I still see other photographs that I've thought, how did they take that? But yeah. Hi, Pat. Good to. Okay. So I want to let everybody know too that my colleague Michael is here and will be able to help you with any kind of tech difficulties you might be having. And he'll also be helping me monitor the chat for questions. I am, for the time being, just so we don't have any background noise, I'll put us all on mute. But I will stop for questions. If we can hold questions until I stop, and then I can walk through and go over anything I went over before. I'll probably just ask for a show of hands since I put everybody on mute. Does anybody do people have Photoshop already, or are some people just kind of interested? Okay, great. Other people, Debbie doesn't. Okay. Other people are probably just kind of interested in learning a bit more about it. So I'll kind of give you a demo of what it looks like. If we get enough people interested in using Photoshop, I may end up making an intermediate class as well. But I'll get us started here with a few slides, and then I'll open up my own Photoshop account and walk us through some of this. Okay, move this down. So a little bit more about me. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. I am a communication consultant and photographer, and now a Get Set Up guide full time. I picked up photography 20 years ago and fell in love with it. I've done paid photography, and I've also done a lot of travel photography as well. My favorite is nature photography. I really enjoy the interactive learning that Get Set Up fosters. So that's why I'm here. Love the community building mission. It's great to see people I know and also to make new friends here. So a little bit more about Get Set Up. We're here to help you learn useful skills from people like you so you can go do great things. We learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you on camera if you're not too shy. If you would like a recording of the class, you can email us at help@getsetup.io and we'll get that sent to you. If you're joining us by live stream, welcome. Glad you're watching. Best way to participate is to join a class and register. Or register for a class and join it live so you can interact with other guides. And lastly, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any specific products. So this isn't meant to be an advertisement for Photoshop. It's just a tool that many people are interested in learning or are using already and want to learn a little bit more about it. So this is going to be very basic today, but what I want to hope, what I'm aiming for you to come out of this with is just an understanding of the basic features of Photoshop. We'll learn how to I'll walk through making some basic edits to photos, and then how the different ways formats essentially that you can save your photos in. If there is anything else specifically you might be interested in learning about today, let me know. If I have some time, depending on how much outside the scope of the basics it is, I'll try to run through that. If not, that will give me a signal that we need a Photoshop intermediate as well. So when you go to your options panel, I think it's going to be easier for me to just open this up. But when hopefully everybody can now see I've got Photoshop up. Before I do that, I should just walk you through the Adobe website though. So let me walk through that. To get Photoshop, it is part of Adobe's cloud, Creative Cloud. So when you go to the Adobe website, you can start a free trial of any of their options. They've got Photoshop, they've got some other software, but they have a basic package that gives you Photoshop and Lightroom, which is another photo organizing app. And that costs about $10 a month. So this is where you go to find it. Once you'll download it so that you can use it, but all of your photos can be backed up in the cloud as well. And when we open it up, you will see that you've got all different options up at the top: file, edit, image, layer, select, filter, things like that. And I can easily drag and drop a photo from my desktop in here. So I'm going to pick one right now that didn't turn out real well, just a flower shot, and I'm going to import it in. So here is where you can get a good look at the photo you have. Now, one of the first things you might want to do once you've got it into the software is to go up, and one thing I like to do is look at the image size. So if you go to image, this is where you're going to be doing a lot of your adjustments. Edit. Here, you would probably intuit that that's where you do a lot of your changes to your photo, but it's actually in image. And up at the top, it says mode. And I've got it in one of these different color channels. I usually don't mess around with these too much, but if I wanted to change it to black and white, I could change all the color out or put all the color out of it. I have my history window open. So I'm going to go back. All you need to do is click back to the previous step or to the original photo, and you won't have to worry about losing that. So one thing I like to do is just look at the image size to see what I can do with this photo. This is only 72, right down here where it says resolution. That's 72 pixels per inch, or PPI. That's going to be fine for a small print photo if I wanted to get it printed at CVS or Costco or something like that. It's fine to show digitally. If you get up into one of the next steps, I think I can get it as high as 240 or 300. 300 PPI is what they usually require for high quality print, like in a magazine or something like that. So when I was working as a magazine editor and getting photos, the graphic designers always said, get photos in 300 PPI because 72 will not work. So this will just give you an idea what you can do, how much you can do with this photo. If I want to get this printed as a 5x7 or something like that, that should be fine. And then the next one down under mode would be all of your basic adjustments. You also have some auto adjustments that you can do here. But here you can adjust the brightness or contrast, or mess with the exposure, which I don't do very often. But if I go to levels, this will just adjust the contrast, the color, things like that. And there is an auto function here. And if I hit that, it just immediately adjusts the brightness, the contrast, the color, and everything else. So it's just a quick way. If a photo is, say, a little too dark, a little too light, it'll adjust it like that. Just kind of an instantaneous fix. So those are just some quick things to know. I'll walk through a few other edits you can make, but I'm going to stop there. I know this is a lot for anybody who hasn't seen Photoshop before, but are there any questions so far?
What was the difference? Could you show what the photo would look like at 300, or is that not possible to do because of the it wasn't taken at 300?
Well, there's a big leap between 72 and 300. If I tried to save this at 300, I can try to do that, but it's probably going to degrade the image a little bit.
Okay. What does it look like at another, I was just trying to see the difference between something low and something higher.
So yeah, you can see here, it's not too bad. I guess I could get away with it. I just raised it to 300. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you want to zoom in or zoom out, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Go to view and just zoom out of it. and you're back down to something you can work with.
Oh,
But that here I've changed it to 300 PPI. Sometimes you can do this. Sometimes it really degrades the photo. I think I can get away with it, but the resolution probably won't be quite what I want as if I had taken this in 300, if I had saved this in 300 in the first place. So one thing to understand too is when you take a picture, there are different a digital picture, there are different formats that you can take it in if you're using a digital camera. And one of those is RAW. And RAW is going to give you the most detailed resolution for your photo that you can possibly get. So that will automatically be in at least 300 PPI.
Are these settings like raw on the iPhone?
There is not a RAW setting on the iPhone.
Okay.
This would just be on a digital camera. So the iPhone will automatically take it in a digital format like JPEG. And you can also do that with your digital camera too. RAW photos take up a lot more room on a camera. And if you're storing it on a little disk or data card that you put into, that's where your photos sit when you're using a digital camera. And they take up a lot of room on your computer too, if you have a lot of them.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
On your smartphone, do you have a kind of built-in Photoshop? Not exactly as detailed as this, but
On a smartphone,
yeah.
there is, and if you're interested in this, I'm teaching this class this evening at 6:30 Eastern. There is a mobile version called Photoshop Express,
Oh, okay.
and it is free. And unlike the desktop version, Photoshop Express is free. And there are actually a couple of other different Photoshop apps that you can download as well that do different things like special effects to your photos and things like that.
Excuse me,
Photoshop.
Scott, what time
Yeah.
tonight are you,
You're gonna do the class.
giving a class?
That's at 6:30 Eastern.
Oh, okay, great.
Would
I'm gonna
you be
try
able
to
to,
remember.
would someone be able to put the URL in the chat? We have to register, right?
Yeah, Michael, would you mind dropping that that class into
Sure.
the
Sure, I can. Can you please reconfirm
But
which
if
one
we
was it?
just get back on get set up schedule, right?
yeah, it's on the schedule too. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
And which class is it, Scott? Once
This is the add fun to your photos with free Photoshop mobile apps.
got it.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah,
And
you bet.
Michael.
You bet.
Sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, the Photoshop Express has quite a bit that you can work with as well. It's great for, there's not a desktop version of Photoshop Express, but I do use that mobile app quite a bit, and it's a lot of fun. So
Thought so. Thank you, because
yeah.
I've been editing some of my pictures I take on the phone, and I was like, it kind of looked the same almost.
Mhm.
Not exactly, but smaller version.
Yeah, yeah. So you take a photo like this, and here is what, here are some other things that you can do. So I can go in here and play with a few things like vibrance. And it's taking its time here. There we go. So this would just add a little bit of additional richness to the photo. And I can also do that with the color by upping the saturation. And now there's just a little more color to this photo. And sometimes it takes a little while to adjust or to incorporate. All right. And let me zoom out a little bit more on that one. So now I've just got a little bit more color in there. And let's see, is there anything else in here I should show you? Okay. There's one other thing that I sometimes use, and that is photo filter. And that might allow you to add a little warmth to a photo. I've got a warming filter here, but if you go up here, you have a lot of other options as well. So I could make it cooler like that. Or I could just cancel it all together and leave it as is. But those are just some of the basic editing functions on there. I'm going to open up another photo in here. Let me close this one out.
How exactly do you open it up?
I just drag and drop it into the app itself, but you can always go up to File and click Open, and it will open up to your computer. And if you've got, say, a photo sitting on your desktop or in a specific folder, you can find it there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So let's grab this one. Here's another one that is really dark. And I'm gonna see what I can do with just the levels again. I'm going to go down here and click auto, and that brightens it up right away. So when you're using this, if you want to make any adjustment at all, really quickly, I would say go to adjustments, go to levels, and that's the quick, and then hit auto. And that will be one of the quickest ways to adjust. Now, let's pretend I wanted to zoom in on this a little more. Over here are all your tools, and there are a lot of them. Right here is, say, your cropping tool. Somebody was asking about changing the size of a photo. Let's say that I want to reduce this, close in on the duck a little bit more. I can just click these tabs here and zoom in a little bit more like that. So I've changed the dimensions of the photo a little bit. And let's see what size this one is at. This is at 240. So when I open up image size, if I want to go in and adjust that to a higher resolution, and this should be relatively easy, I can just change it to 300. And it ups it to that. I haven't really lost any detail there at all. And I've got a perfectly adjusted photo. Okay. So here is another example of a photo that I really botched.
Scott, would you mind telling how to change the size of photo? It's Carolyn asking.
Yeah, I think I just hit, was that clear, Carolyn, how I changed that?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, so as you can see, I really blew this shot because the bird's face is completely darkened, and it's just not a good result. So I can go over here and try to play with the levels to see if that will help a little bit. And it does, but I still feel like the bird's head is too dark, and you can't see its eyes or anything like that. So here are some other tools that you can play with. I just go down here to the very bottom and press on that, and it opens up this entire toolbox, which I know looks really overwhelming. And I'm not going to go through all of these so that it's overload. But there are a couple of things in here that are good for some quick fixes. And one of those, and I will send this out as an attachment in the class notes that I send out afterward. But here is my dodge tool. So I have this set up here for shadows. You can always use midtones, but I have it up here for shadows. And then I've got the exposure at about 46%. That's all just random, whatever I want to choose. And it will open up this as a brush. What I'm going to do is just, let me zoom in on this so you can see it a little better. So I am slowly running my pointer across here. And now you can see his eyes a little bit better and his feathers, and it's a little, I've evened it up a little more essentially. So that's the dodge button.
Dodge, okay.
Yeah. What this is, if you ever saw an Ansel Adams photo, dodging and burning was something that he used to do all the time. And that had to be done in the dark room back then. But it was essentially overexposing certain areas and underexposing others to get those really intense contrasts that he got. But here it just kind of handles some of that evening out for you and getting you the results you want. Say that I wanted to darken these feathers here. I don't know that that's necessarily a good idea, but I'll show you the opposite of dodge, and that is the burn tool. So dodge and burn is, those are basically two that can really help out with photos that have some underexposed or overexposed areas. So here I can run over this, and I don't know if you can see, but it's darkening it up a little bit. And I can set this, you see this circle here, that's my brush. I can set that, if I click up here, you'll see it up here in the corner. I can set that to any size I want. So I could make the size a little bigger and darken that blue up if I had wanted to.
What happens if you do it to the white part in the background?
Back here,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it darkens it up a little bit. Not a lot, but I could keep going and really tone it down quite a bit. Yeah.
And what could you do to match the dark part with the light part? Or the light part with the dark part?
You mean this area down here, Kathleen?
No, just if you wanted it to be less contrasty between dark and light.
Well, you could adjust the contrast if you wanted, but I don't know that that would work here. The other thing you can do is go back to your dodge tool and see if you wanted to lighten up this area a little bit so that, and it may take a while to do that, but it would. Sometimes you have to do this pretty delicately because it can add a lot of fuzziness and graininess to the, depending on how much you do, but.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, close that one out. And here's another example of one that is just a little dark. Maybe I want to brighten her up a little bit so I can take that dodge tool and just go over her a little bit like this, and she stands out a little bit more. Yeah. So this is the sort of standard bearer when it comes to photo editing software right now. There are a lot of alternatives to Photoshop. If you go to any consumer photography website or anything like that, they will always put Photoshop up at the top. And of course, you have to pay that $9.99 subscription fee every month. But if you really do get serious about photography, this is something that it may be worthwhile to have, because there's always something new to learn. I will tell you that it does involve a lot of time to really learn it. I have been using Photoshop for about 12 years, and there are still things I don't know how to do. So just knowing the basics, though, I think you can do a lot of really nice adjustments to photos if they don't turn out. And the rest, if you want to learn it, they've got tutorials, and a lot of people teach Photoshop. We may do a Photoshop intermediate class at some point if there's some demand for it, but okay. Close that, and let me get back to my slide. I want to make sure talked about. The other thing I'll mention too is curves, which is a little more of a, let's just say it's a little more of a detailed way of making an adjustment. This just adjusts when you go over to adjustments and go to curves. This allows you to just sort of move this arrow around here a little bit to just have a little bit more control over the light and tone and everything else of your photo. So you'll see here, I had this was really kind of dull and dark, a little bit underexposed. And if I go to curves, I can go over here and looks like this, and I'm just going to lighten it up a little bit. You can move it over if you want to the right or left. So it gives you a lot more precision in the adjustments you're going to make. Yeah. Okay.
What can you do if you have a close-up of a face?
Okay, so a few things you can do with that. Let me close out of this. Let me see if I can find a good, all right, I'm gonna pick on my niece, Olivia here. I have a photo.
How about an older face which needs more room for improvement?
Oh, well, I don't know if I have any here.
You had some guy, white hair, mustache, that was somewhere in your photos?
I don't know if I have that in this deck here,
Okay.
so I may have to look around, but I can show you here that this gets into a little more detail, but you can do things in here like I think there is an airbrush option somewhere, and they've changed it around. But let me go into over here. There are a bunch of where it says window. You'll see here a lot of things that you can open up. These are different functions that you can use. If I go to brushes, it will open up a bunch of brushes, and there should somewhere in here be an airbrush tool. But I'm not seeing it. But there is a way to do that. Let me see if I can find airbrush. Here we go. Okay, so if I wanted to just brush over, oh, that's not what I wanted. So this takes a little bit of time. The first thing you want to do is go to your, if I can find it, there we go. You'll see a little eyedropper here. So in the area you want to fix, say it's right in here, I want to smooth this out. I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to open up my airbrush tool, and I'll just go over that. And I probably should adjust the opacity so it's not so obvious, and maybe increase the size here. And I'll just gently go over this to smooth that out. You can see her pores here a lot. I can go in here and click on that and just gently go over it, and it smooths it all out. Same here. And you can adjust your brush size up here. And I'm just doing this really quickly. It takes a lot more TLC for something like this. I'm kind of botching it right now, but you get the idea that you can take out wrinkles and things like that.
How about the top back of her hair, the back right-hand side?
Right up here.
Yeah, if you wanted to, yeah.
So if I wanted to take some of that out, there is another tool called the clone tool. And that's in your tool set. Again, some of these are, well, let me go down here and look. Okay, so the clone stamp is probably what I would use. I reduce the size, and if I wanted to get rid of those hair strands, I could go up here, click here, and it basically clones the area around it. Now you have to be kind of careful not to grab too much. I probably should have a smaller brush, but you'll see here that I'm getting rid of some of that just sort of painstakingly. There we go. Yeah, again, I'm kind of doing this quickly, so I'm not taking a whole lot of care with it, but it is, there's another strand up here. If I click up here, I can just sort of take that out as well. Now, the more you get to know this, the more you'll find out that, and they've added a lot of features over the years. There are ways to actually remove objects from a photo with it. Lot of advanced features that you can use. These are just the basics, and a lot of people get Photoshop and use it for nothing much more than just some of these simple adjustments. So it does have a bit of a learning curve, but if you ever wanted to get into some serious photo editing, this is one tool that you may want to tap into. So I'm going to stop there and see what other questions I can answer. Any?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Right. I noticed we're working with JPG pictures, and as I understand it, as you save those, it compresses a little bit, so you lose some of the resolution. Is there other type of images you would rather use than that?
So when you save an image, let's say I'm going to save this. I'll go to File, and I'll go down to Save As. And I'm going to save it on my computer. So it'll come up here. It's got a file name, and I could change this to Olivia, just her name. Right now, it's in the Photoshop format, which means I can go back and still make edits to this photo and changes. But there are a bunch of other formats that you can save this in. So, you know, if you've taken this photo in raw format, it will, but you want to save it on your computer at some point. If you want to do anything with it, you may, or share it or something like that, you may have to convert it to JPEG. Mm-hmm. But you also have Photoshop RAW, so you can preserve it until the very last minute, that when you're getting ready to share it with somebody. But TIFF is another good format to save it in if you want to. That's especially the case if you want to print the photo. There are going to be some places that may not do TIFF format. I don't know. You can try uploading it on Shutterfly or one of those sites to print. But I do know that for any kind of print work that I used to do, I always saved it in TIFF format instead of JPEG for like the magazine that I worked on and things like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I just looked and I have Adobe Photoshop Elements. What exactly do I have?
That is, to tell you the truth, I've never worked with Elements. That's a different feature of sort of a separate feature of just the basic Photoshop package. So I'm not sure I can help much with Elements just because I've never trained myself on it.
How is it different?
I think Photoshop Elements might be, I'm going to look that up right now and maybe get a little bit of a better explanation for it. If you go to the Adobe website and you look at, okay, view all products. So they have Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Photoshop Camera. Let me see what they say about Elements. Yeah, I'm not seeing much of an explanation here, but maybe if I just do a Google. Okay, it also is photo editing software, but it does say Photoshop Elements versus Photoshop. So I can drop this into the class notes, and that'll give you a little better idea of what the difference is here.
Well, all I knew is it was much cheaper, so who knows?
Okay, there's also Adobe Premiere Elements. But if you go to Photoshop Elements, yeah, I think it's just $99.99 to buy.
Actually, it was like something like 59. So that's
Okay,
why I
so they
got
must
it.
have
Yeah.
had a deal on it or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Now, is there a class you can give that sort of goes through if you have a photo, what you do first, second, third, that sort of thing, an outline of what the basic, you went through the basic features, but if you could sort of outline it a little bit more?
So are you
Hmm,
talking
what do
about
you-
just a basic editing to a photo or?
Yes,
Okay. No, but that's a good suggestion to maybe take that approach with this class. Every photo is probably going to have a different need. So there may be, in one case, you're going to want to play with the exposure a little bit. In another case, you may want to play with the contrast. So it's going to vary from photo to photo a bit, but
if you took different, I mean, if you took one portrait, one landscape, one something or other else, different kinds of photos to show the basic sorts of things.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can try to create more of that into the class curriculum that we're working on.
Okay, or if anybody else wants to make suggestions, I should be quiet for a while.
Any other things that you might want me to walk you through? Anything I could walk you through again that you didn't catch, or?
I still would like to make myself get rid of a lot of the wrinkles. Is that possible?
Well, I'm actually working on a class that I want to present on doing basic touch-ups. And there is other software that I think is free even that allows you to do that. And it's probably a lot easier than going through and airbrushing. There are plenty of mobile apps that do that. I think because they're finding that so many people are taking pictures on their smartphones, so that's where their photos are sitting.
Yes.
Yeah. Other questions? I'll stop the share for a minute. Okay, so are people interested in getting Photoshop then, or thinking it's too much?
I still want to learn how to use it. It's still very, very vague and not sure if there's something that gives you an example that you can try, for instance.
Oh, like a free trial?
No, not a trial there, but I can, if I see a particular photo, something that shows me what I should do with a photo, for instance, this is what's wrong and this is what you do, and slow enough so you can sort of back it up and go over it again.
Yeah. So a lot of that may come from some of the other, I think first steps is to look at the photo you create in the first place just by snapping the camera. Understanding that will then allow you to come in here and employ some of these mechanics to try to make those fixes. So if it's a matter of maybe you want to do some cropping of the photo because of a composition issue that you had, that's where you would use the cropping tool in here, which is really easy. But
how about a class on just portrait photography? I don't think you have a class on that, and because of Zoom and all of this stuff, you suddenly, there you are. Ooh.
Yeah, actually there is a portrait photography class that I'm teaching. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll look up again.
Yeah.
Scott?
Yes.
Is there editing available in iPhoto?
There is. It's not called iPhoto anymore. I think they've just rebranded it as Apple Photos, but there is some, I think there might be some very minor things you can do. Yeah, you can do it right on your iPhone. In fact, I do teach a class on iPhone photography. That's just sort of a basics class on how to use your iPhone to take pictures. But as part of that class, I also walk through making some edits with the editing tools that are built into the phone. Yeah. So
What is that class called?
that's called How to Take Great Photos with Your iPhone.
And you do get into some editing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Just trying
often
to
do you
see if
teach
that one
that?
is coming up. Actually, that class comes up again, that How to Take Great Pictures with Your iPhone, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern.
Is that 7 o'clock Mountain? No, 9.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern, but I have it a couple of times a week. So once or
Is it
twice a
al-
week at least.
Is it always at 9 a.m. Eastern?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think that might be a better place for me.
Okay. Gotcha.
And your portrait class, is that scheduled somewhere that I missed?
It should be on the schedule. I think it's Wednesday evening at 7 Eastern.
Okay. All right, I'll look again.
Yeah.
I
So
thought I
I'll tell-
signed up for all of them.
Yeah. I'll tell you that we've been creating a lot of new photography classes. So I've got a nature photography series right now that goes into both wildlife and landscapes and plant life, things like that. We have a portrait photography class as well. And there's one coming up later this week on pet photography tips.
Oh, wow. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so plenty to choose from.
Good. I'm afraid my landscape, but doesn't really want to take rats and pigeons, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just kind of wrap up here, and went through all of that before. Okay. Okay, so again, Photoshop can be used to make just basic edits like adjusting the contrast, the brightness, the saturation, and the clarity. There are some simple tools for cropping and dodging and burning that you can use on specific photos and specific areas within a photo. And you can save a photo in PSD format if you want to come back to it later. You can also save it as a JPEG, GIF, PNG is another format, or TIFF once you're done with it.
And you will go over these formats in another class?
Well, I can, yeah. JPEG is typically the one that most people are working with. So yeah.
What is TIFF?
TIFF, TIFF, that is just another digital file format, but it saves them in a way that's a little more appropriate for print, a little more workable with print.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just some classes coming up. If you are interested in maybe creating a slideshow or something with the photos you take, you can check out Google Slides Basics. There is a class on tips and tricks with Zoom and a class on sharing photos on Instagram coming up. My next class, I've got one this afternoon on wildlife photography here. This will be the premiere of this class, so love to see you there. And later this evening, 6:30 Eastern, we have a class on Photoshop mobile apps. I mentioned that before, and those are free. So if you want to check those out to dress up your mobile photo apps, we'll be happy to have you there. If you want to share your experience about this class, you can always do that on your Facebook feeds. Our hashtag is #GetSetUp. I'll be sending you some class notes, and you'll be able to not only see some of the takeaways from the class that I just went over, but also share this on Facebook, or recommend it on Facebook, or recommend it to a friend by emailing. You'll get some other class ideas here that you might be interested in, and a link to our full schedule, and a link to our feedback form. This is only the second time I've done this class, so I'm really looking for the feedback on this one, what you liked about it, what you didn't, whether it worked or not. That feedback would be really helpful. And also, if you have an idea for a class that you would like to see us offer that we're not offering right now, let us know. We are always looking for new ideas for classes. When you register for a class, by the way, you now have an option of telling a friend about it. You just click here and you can share it with them on Facebook, WhatsApp, or via email. Maybe say, hey, why don't you take this class with me? And lastly, if you are interested in hosting an interest group on Get Set Up, we can make that happen for you. We have people getting together to talk about a shared hobby or a topic of interest. So feel free to drop us a line on that. You can also suggest a new class via email. If you are part of an organization that you think might be interested in partnering with us to deliver more classes to the membership, or if you want to request a recording of this session, all of that can be done by just simply emailing help@getsetup.io. Okay, so with that, I'll stop sharing, and thanks a lot for joining me today, and hope to see you all at some upcoming classes.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, take care, Michael.